Oh, I almost fell off. Hi, everyone. I am so lucky. I have to say, like you get paired with people. I got to get paired with my friend here, Alia, and I won't. I like to say to women all the time, "You can have it all," and I would say that this woman's a badass. She not only is she the CMO of Shipt, and she just went there less than 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. She's a mother of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. She had her first baby in her early 20s, mm-hmm. and she has done it all. And she worked at IKEA, and we met when she was at McCormick. Mm-hmm. She's dedicated to innovation and doing great things, and she's also a woman of purpose. Because she has done incredible things in the D&IB space. So we're going to talk a lot about, but because she won't say it herself, she's a badass.
Oh my God, what okay. This is the benefit of getting paired with someone who has met you before. So if you keep coming to these conferences, you will meet people. Brand Innovators did not pay me to say that, but you will meet people
that you become friends
with. Develop relationships. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, and she has a great sense of humor too. So we're going to have a lot of fun, and that's one of our goals here is to teach you guys some stuff about Shipt, as well as have some fun. So since I started talking about your career, I want to hear from you about your career, and I want to hear about what you're proud of. And we talked a little bit, and we're both from Maryland too. We have a lot of things in common. And I know that you started in retail at Sassafras. Yeah. Does anyone know where Sassafras is?
There's no way.
It's a little dress shop in Maryland. But you started at 14,
I was
right?
14. Yeah, I wanted. This is back when young people worked, and y'all know what I'm talking about. You know. And so I wanted a job, and so I was 14, and I was like, can I get a job? Sure, you got to get a work permit, because there were those things. And I got a job at this women's clothing shop that sold clothes to women who were now my age, the age I am now, and older. I was 14, and I was the stock girl, because I wasn't old enough to be on the sales floor. So I would take the clothes out of the boxes. And then when I was about 15, I graduated to being the merchandising girl, and I dressed windows and all of the displays in the shop. And by the time I was 16, I did get to work on the sales floor, and I was like the youngest sales, with the highest sales ever person, whatever that they had. But the point was, starting that early in retail, I like to say I'm a retailer at heart. I've been a retailer since I was 14. Many of the fundamentals I learned in that first job at 14 carry through with me today.
Well, I do think, look, those who know me, I'm a huge, big believer in fate, and that your path really kind of finds you, and your path found you early, Yeah. That's very cool. So, and you've done so many great things in your career. What are you most proud of?
So I love building brands. There's a lot of things I'm proud of. I'm really proud of the work I did at IKEA, obviously, because I'll date myself, but if you think back 2006, 2007, when big box retailers were really trying to figure out how to show up in social. And I mean, we were petrified because all the things that were coming on social were really negative. It was horrible. And I think it was one of those moments where people wanted to kind of put their head in the sand. I remember people telling me, it's all going to go away. The social media thing's not going to last. At the time, I was one of the younger leaders, and they needed someone to lead kind of stand up a social strategy. I mean, no one's paying you more or anything. It's just who's going to do it? So I raised my hand, and I built the first social strategy for IKEA North America, which went on to be the global social strategy, and the U.S. was the competence center for social media and for IKEA globally. So I'm really proud of that, and I would say that social has been something, because I have those roots in it, and strategically, really, social strategy I've carried as I've gone to new brands. So when I went to McCormick, and I had 20 brands, right? And I had not just McCormick and McCormick Gourmet, but Frank's Red Hot and French's Mustard and Zatarain's and all of the different brands, Stubbs barbecue sauce, which is a really good product. I
love barbecue sauce.
Right? I brought what I learned to those roles, and I started with social because it's often a place that people don't know what to do with. They're not paying attention. You can spend less money and punch really above your budget weight when you're really leaning into cultural moments and making the brand something that people care about and that they love. And so I'm proud of both of those things, and I plan to bring that same kind of grit and learning that I got from social to this role here at Shipt. And I think there's so many cultural opportunities and moments right now that we can attach ourselves to as brands in a meaningful way. And I think that's the difference. I mean, it's I love that we're following Patagonia, one, because I love Patagonia, but also because I think that there's not one way to do this, right? We choose to use social in a very meaningful way to connect to humans and to help solve problems. And I think that is something that I've done in my career.
That's great. Well, I'm telling you, she is a rock star. She's done so great things in social. In fact, some of her legacy work is still at her former employers, and it's been incredible and a lot of fun. So tell us about Shipt. Tell us why'd you go to Shipt? And we both changed jobs. Like, we're really living parallel lives. Like 6 months ago, like in November. So why'd you go to Shipt? And tell us about your role and what are you excited about? What you're working on?
So Shipt is a service obsessed retail technology company.
Obsessed.
And, yes, service obsessed, right? And I think that, and what we do is we connect consumers to delightful shopping experiences with their favorite retailers. I said it when we first started talking. I'm a retailer at heart. I love retail, and had I known what CPG was really like, I probably would not have gone into CPG for 5 years. But I loved CPG, and I think I did because I'm a retailer. The speed in which we move, the closeness that you have to be to a consumer, really understanding how the customer is thinking, what are her needs, and acting against them to provide value in her life, that is what I'm all about. And I saw an opportunity at Shipt to do that at a time that was really critical. Like right now, we're talking about the evolution of retail. I mean, it is constantly evolving. It never stops. It's constantly changing. There isn't a moment where it's like, oh, okay, this is how retail is now. Like, I'm just like, what is it going to be tomorrow? I do very well in ambiguity. It's my favorite place to exist.
How many people say that? Really? How many people? Oh, good.
Right.
I love
it. And so during the pandemic in particular, it was the most, right? Like, this was crazy. And there were people who were like, oh, what to do? I was like, this is when you call me. I told my team, I was like, we built this team for this moment. We're ready. And so the pivot and the leaning into the not knowing and having to use data quickly in ways we had never been able to do before, and take the data and take the gut and make a decision and put it in action, and then, iterate on that. Like, that was what I knew I could do at Shipt at a time where people are getting their goods in ways you never thought would be possible. And I wanted to be a part of that. And I wanted to be part of it with a company that I would be proud to sit at the leadership table. And that was critical for me, right? Like, when I was I said, I'm a woman of a certain age, and I was very clear, my next company, wherever I worked, the values would need to be very closely aligned to mine. And so,
here.
I
think that's a very
important, it was at the top of
piece
my
career
list.
advice.
And when I met that leadership team, and I heard about the commitment to DE&I, and I heard about the commitment to the environment and to food insecurity, and I understood, that we were hiring for values and what we were trying to do, and that we really are about providing this higher level of service in tech. So really bringing humanity, right, and tech closer together. I just knew that made sense for me personally. So that's why I didn't get into what I'm doing, but that's why I left.
You're a lifelong learner. I mean, we haven't known each other that long, but I know that you like to learn. So I know that there's a big reason why you went to retail tech, as why I also went to ad tech not long ago. So I think that's a good quality. I think that's great. So now let's talk a little bit about Shipt. And it's a competitive landscape. Sure. Retail tech, I mean, oh my God. Like, I remember going to NRF and I was like, is this CES? Like, so tell us about what's going on and how is Shipt different than the competition?
Yeah. So it's funny, people who are in the industry and outside of it, though when I'll tell them about my role and then I work for Shipt, they're like, oh gosh, it's so competitive, and it's so, well, how are you going to win in that space? Well, your competitors are so big. Well, what about this and what about that? And I'm thinking, this whole space is so new. What are you talking about? Like, anyone who thinks they have this figured out and has become comfortable, I would be concerned for their plans. You do not know what tomorrow is going to look like. And so I'm not really concerned so much about the competition, because I think that Shipt plays a very unique role in the life of the customer. We are, our kind of unique differentiation is really about personalization and bringing you a more personalized shopping experience. We know who our best customer is, and those who are really going to be attracted to us. Those are people who are busy, they are savvy, they are extremely ambitious. This is the type of person who really needs to get 36 hours done in 24 hours, right? This is the type of person who is really into hosting and gathering. They got multiple things happening in their lives. Time is a very precious commodity. And so there's a lot of them. And we know that when those folks with that psychographic profile choose us, they fall in love with us. So my job is to make more of them fall in love with us. And I'm planning to do that. I've only been here 4 months, but we've got some really big plans in the works that the team is working on. I can't really share all of it today, but a lot more to come.
Well, I love the 36 hours and 24 hours. That's what I need. I used to say, because I'm a mom of 3, I'm not a mom of 4, but I'm a mom of 3. I used to say, I need a wife. Because I needed another set of hands. So, you told me, we were talking about that because, we both live busy lives. Tell us a little bit about how your daughter has embraced Shipt, and she has become the believer, if you will.
Yeah, my daughter's 12. She's my biggest brand ambassador. She, so I got a ton of Shipt gear. And I'm going to tell you, I know what you're looking for, but I did want to share this, because I think this is hilarious. She wears the Shipt gear to school at least 2 days a week. I'm so confused. I'm like, well, you're going to get teased. I was trying to kind of coach her that you don't have to wear mommy's Shipt leggings and Shipt sweatshirts, and she just wears it, and she's like, no, Mom, this is cool. I'm like, is it? And so, but she loves the brand. And one of the things we were talking about, and I do have 4, I'll tell you, 4 kids will break you. So if you said you have 3, stop. It takes a lot to recover from 4. But what she does is she orders her own everything for Shipt. So I'm so, like I said, it's about my time. And I think this is something that moms do, but I can just literally give her my phone. She orders all her own snacks every week. And she just puts it in. Now, a couple times she has snuck in some things that are quite unhealthy because she knows I'm not watching. But in general, it's so easy. And then she's like, okay, the shop is out. She's like, Mom, our preferred shopper said they don't have the this or the that, but she's going to get the substitute. Did we want 3 ripe avocados and 2 hard avocados, or should we do? And I'm like, well, you just make the call. And so she's typing back, and she has a whole relationship with the Shipt shopper. And you really do, feel this more sense of community. I like to think about it as, we've gotten so technical, which is great, right? Because we should be using technology to make our lives easier. But people are longing for human connections. They're longing for paper. I mean, this morning we were at breakfast and people were like, "Oh, the agenda's on paper," and people were actually happy about it. And maybe it's just kind of like the old meets new, but I think there's a place for all of this. And it's been really cool to see my daughter, who is Roadblocks queen and really awesome at technology, just connect with our Shipt shoppers in this really authentic human way through technology.
That's amazing. The little girl, we talked about it last night, she's a badass too. She's just like her mom.
She really is, though.
So let's talk about how, because you've always done this, you've always grown the brand.
Yeah.
And, taken market share. How do you plan to do that at Shipt?
Yeah, I think the first step is really understanding who you are, right? So we've spent a lot of time over the last few months really strengthening and getting really clear about the brand narrative and really focusing the team on the things that we're going to focus on. So you hear me talk about the personalization, really our key points of differentiation, the types of things that we think we really need to lean into to be attractive to customers. But I I think we have a significant awareness play here that we need to really be leaning into. And so we're focused on, and what I'm going to be focusing on, and you'll see really kind of early this summer, is focus on elevating the brand. So we're doing that. There's a few different ways that I'm planning to do that. One is just simple brand awareness and coming out with a really, I think, awesome, very human awareness campaign, right? Because, how do we kind of launching the brand? But the second way that what we'll be focusing on is really, like, I would say kind of my signature thing with growing brands is really around culture. So this is about tapping into culture, not just social media, experiential, but really using earned media. A great idea with a low budget. Great idea. Got a really great idea, lower budget, and then amplifying as you see buzz start to pick up. So we did this with Tabitha Brown at McCormick, right? And when we first worked with Tabitha Brown, and we got a lot of real interest from consumers, and this has turned into actually at McCormick us launching a product with Tabitha Brown, and I mean just millions and millions of billions actually of impressions for McCormick that with very, very little cost. I did it with French's Mustard, where we started with doing making mustard ice cream, and then we did mustard bread.
Mustard
ice cream, which people were like, "Oh my God, mustard ice cream! This is a horrible idea." And I was like, "No, we're a flavor company. We can make it taste great. People will talk about this. It only costs $150,000, but at the end of the day, what do we get? Billions of impressions." And so you'll see the same kind of cultural awareness that's going to come to bear for Shipt. And then the third one is more traditional media, right? And just kind of a media transformation and looking at how we use media. And with that, I would say also CRM and data. And I'm a big believer of using the power of your first-party data, especially in like a really meaningful way. So how do you take that first-party data, find problems that consumers have, and then help them fix those problems with your brand? So that's just a little bit of a sneak peek, I guess.
So you're really good at, creative, breaking through the clutter, and personalization, as we talked about. Mm-hmm. Who here is going to become a Shipt member after? I just want, okay, good. Just want to make, everybody should be raising their hand.
And this is my strategy. I'll just go to all of these.
Yeah, really. I am going to activate my membership as soon as I get back to New York. I can't wait.
And there's some membership also, kind of reinvention of membership and perks and things that'll be coming as well that I think are really going to be focused on the type of psychographic mindset that I talked about, right?
So let's talk about values and purpose. And I know this is a big reason why you came to Shipt. This is a big reason of who you are. You do a podcast about it on your spare time. Talk about like DE and IB and your plans there. Because I know that you're very directed and you want to lift up the next generation and people, diverse people everywhere.
Yeah. Well, this is actually a big topic for me when it comes to our industry in particular. I have been 25 years in this industry, and I don't think we've made enough strides when it comes to diversity, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion, in particular in our industry. And I can remember back 20 years ago, I'll never forget, I was in a creative meeting, and I was told, when I was asking why didn't we have any diverse people in the ad by the agency, I was told it was because they couldn't find a mixed child in New York City to cast.
They could have called my kids.
There were 100 marketers in the room, right? And at the time, I spoke up because that's what I do. But I remember still feeling like powerless, right? So now all these years later, I just feel like I have to be really vocal about this topic. So not just when it comes to hiring, when it comes to holding my agencies accountable to diversity hiring, to thinking about how are we using even influencers and how are we using them in authentic ways so that, one that always drives me crazy is like, because I worked in food, and when, it'd be like Cinco de Mayo, let's do a Hispanic campaign. Really, why? Because, Hispanic, Latino people eat like 365 days a year, and we eat their food, and so it doesn't have to be a Hispanic campaign. So I just think like this weird like way that we want to put people in boxes, like you're just, this one thing about you, and let's trot them out when we think that it makes sense within our commercial calendar, I really try to strip away from that with my brands, and then encourage other brand leaders to do the same.
I totally agree. I mean, one, I am frustrated that our industry doesn't target API people. They feel like they can talk to us through other venues, but unless it's Chinese New Year, and then all the red
Exactly.
envelopes come out. So I totally agree with that. Hear, hear. So now, since we're talking about D&I, let's talk about another big thing that just happened to us recently, and it's hard to believe. It was kind of like a dystopian novel. Let's talk about COVID and the pandemic, and what did that do to business, and how did that make? We have 5 minutes. I'm chatty. Let's talk about like the pandemic and what that did.
Yeah, I think I think we all know things will never be the same again. I'm gonna hit this a little bit differently. Because I feel like we're doing it. So pandemic happened, and we changed. We were like, oh, we gotta be creative, and we can be in the moment, and we can, look at data and insights and then act against them in a week and move fast. And now as retailers, I feel like everyone is going right back to this calendar and now it is, right, you got Christmas, you got Mother's Day, so we got to do something on Mother's Day. It's Easter, you got to do something on Easter. And then you got all the days, right? National Friends Day, National Cinnamon Day, not like all the days, right? So you have this calendar that's built up of all of the days and all of the... So one of the things, and this happened, but the pandemic broke that down. We weren't doing that as much during the pandemic. We were doing other things. So one of the things as we talk about personalization, I want to close out on is something I've been thinking a lot about. It's how do you use the data in your company, your first party data, to find problems, to create new moments that actually matter. And I have a really good example, I think, of this one. You guys can tell me if it sucks. How many people in the room are parents? Oh my God, that's a lot. Okay, so you know how when you go back to school, it's like back to school time. But back to school marketing, we know back to school is coming every single year. So every retailer has what? A back to school campaign, because it's on your little trusty little calendar. And you do the same thing pretty much you're gonna do every year. But what people I think are not thinking about is the real problems. I'm gonna tell you what a problem is. A problem is the fact that the teachers send out this note, like within the first few days, with this long list of stuff that they need. Who has time? You got to get the paper towels and the tissue and the hand sanitizer, and then there's always some random thing. 3 things of Play-Doh, pink, yellow. Like it's weird, and they send it out, and then they'll send one out again 2 weeks later or whatever. So this is a problem, but it's a problem solved by data. We at Shipt can tell you exactly what people are getting, and not only can we tell you what they're getting, but we can serve it up for our customers in a way that solves a problem where the mom, the dad, the caretaker doesn't have to leave their house, but they can get that list fulfilled and then some, right? And we know it's coming every year. That's, I think, a way to think about back to school in a way that's going to solve a problem and not just our typical kind of back to school campaign. So I'd love to see us post-COVID not go just back to this like stale calendar and really think about the problems that real people have in their lives that no one is solving, and how can we solve them for them?
Innovate. I'll just tell you, I'll end as we to open up to the floor, but I wanted to be able to use Shipt because I've been on the road for so much to get some undergarments because I ran out of clothes. But I'll have to do that when I get back into New York. So anyway, open for questions. I mean, the badass woman is here to answer your questions.
I'm really nice.
She is really nice, but she's a badass too.
Just a comment. I love the Shipt shoppers.
Yeah.
When I don't get delivery in the Twin Cities and I'm in a store, they know where everything is at.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. Do you have plans of using them as your own influencers, evangelizers?
What's your name?
Todd.
Yes, Todd. So that's actually something I noticed that I felt like we were not leaning into as much. I am the same way I told the story about my daughter. The Shipt shoppers are constantly telling stories about the connections that they're making. And we have I'll just say, our shopper is a very high value shopper that cares. They're shopping for Shipt for a particular reason. And that comes out in the experience that you have. And they do go the extra mile. We're still working on the exact strategy for that, but it's absolutely something that we want to magnify. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe two more. One here.
Yeah, hi, Michael with Mountain Performance Television. Having a parent company like Target, and as your team is putting together personalized marketing and earned media campaigns, do you keep them in mind? Do you have full autonomy to put it together, or do they come with notes and things like that?
Well, I've only been there 4 months, and I haven't gotten any notes. So that's a great question. Yes, we work with Target specifically as we're supporting Target's same-day delivery. We also work with other retailers, and we bring them, the same level of high-quality, personalized dedication in our marketing efforts with them. They probably give us more notes than Target, but there's a lot. I think there's a lot of benefits that come with that. So yeah, there's some co-branded opportunities and fun things we can actually do together as well.
All right, last question. Hi, Ted.
Hey guys, Ted Rubin. We met last night, Alia. Thank you, Jeannine, for a great panel. I was just curious. I loved everything you talked about, and I love the way you referred to your daughters and the insights that you learned from them, and the whole back-to-school conversation. I was wondering if you guys have ever thought about, with the conversation about diversity within the organization, but helping others and the high-value shopper you have, potentially a back-to-school program where you're surfacing what people need, and with everything they buy, something's getting supplied to a child in need who is having real problems, real second-world problems or third-world problems with delivering on those products that the teachers require in school, and being a part of schools where they're not even getting any of that stuff supplied to them by the community.
Well, to my knowledge, not one on school in particular, but I will say that we do a ton of community support and work. We're really highly dedicated to food insecurity in particular. So you'll find more, of our kind of give back work done around food insecurity. But I like that idea, especially teachers. When you think about teachers and just how amazing they are, and what we know that they have to deal with and how hard it is for them.
Well,
It's a great
let's
idea.
pray for our teachers. I mean, considering everything that's happened in the world.
Yeah. Connecting that. I think that makes sense because we really are about connecting people, right? Connecting our shoppers to our consumers, connecting people to their community. So this is definitely something I'll take back. Thanks.